There's no countdown. We're live.
We're just
This is
live.
it.
It's just like
We're
that.
just live.
This is
There's no
it.
countdown. There's nothing. This is it. It just happens.
I love it. I love it.
Hello,
Hello,
hi.
everybody.
Welcome back to ABTG. This channel has been inactive for a while, but then it came back for Dexter. I talked with PJ. We had a big discussion about Dexter New Blood. Because it's technically not Dexter, it's Dexter New Blood. I know I want to call it the 9th season, but it's technically not. Anyway, that's a whole thing. You can go and watch that.
I have to watch like Dexter at all.
Like, you do. It's very
good. I've never actually seen it, which is really embarrassing. But
today, though, we're talking about science fiction. We're talking about The Expanse. I mean, I guess Dexter's kind of science fiction. Anyway, The Expanse. We're talking about The Expanse season 6, and potentially, I guess, the rest of the season as well. There's it's difficult to talk about one season of The Expanse or any modern show, I guess, without going into what happened in the previous ones.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they all lead into each other, I guess. So yeah, we're talking about season 6 primarily, which is only 6 episodes in the season. And as of official news, it's the last season. That is it. This is the end of The Expanse. Now, I've been spreading this perhaps false rumor, and I must apologize for this. I've been saying that there's a film and a spin-off show in the works, but I can no longer find any official sources, and people close to me have told me that there is no official sign of that. So I apologize, and all I can say
wishful thinking, but it's good wishful thinking. I feel like
Look,
it's not a stretch, honestly, to speculate about
something. Saved multiple times at this point. To me, it makes sense that some other eccentric billionaire is going to come in and relaunch The Expanse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Can I wish I were an eccentric billionaire, because I would tell you, I would be like, nope, it's not ending. We're going to season 7. Sorry, I just created a whole company just to make The Expanse.
That's what they did with Ghostbusters, and then the 2016 version flopped. They're like, yo, we got Ghost Core, a whole company, and then it's like, oh no.
Ghost Core. I didn't know
Blue.
That's what it was called. That's funny. Hey, Blue, what's up?
Blue joined us for the Dexter discussion as well. He's very loyal. He comes and watches.
He's very loyal. It's true. He's a good chap. I have no chats. I can't see the chats because I wanted to pay attention to you fully. It's been a long time since I've hung out with you.
We haven't done a just the two of us in a very long time. We used to do them for TNG all the time.
We did. We really did.
This is the closest thing to it, right? Because we're not going to be doing Orville chats. Fuck that.
No.
Yeah. Actually, I can see that. I might do one with Gary just to please the guy. No, I don't hate on the Oval.
No.
I just don't understand. Anyway, that's a whole discussion. Yeah, The Expanse. Is there something you want to address first, or can I say the thing that I need to say before we set off?
Say the thing, and then I'll say my thing later.
Okay.
Yeah.
My thing is, they had a B plot going, which I found very, very, very interesting in this season, and it had to do with big spoilers, by the way, for anyone joining us, for Blue joining us. Big spoilers for anyone watching this on a replay for the whole show. But anyway, there's a subplot that's happening beyond the rings. It's happening on an alien world that's beyond the rings, and I think we've all kind of guessed where it's going. It's kind of, I guess, like an assimilation situation. Or maybe a body horror even kind of situation that's going to be, but I think it was really, really interesting, and I was I wasn't disappointed that it wasn't fully resolved, because clearly it's going to be something big and it's going to need to take time to be resolved and to be explained. But I was expecting a little something, and this is probably just me, but I actually thought they were going to end the show on a scene from that, something a little more crazy with the brother, or I don't know. Anyway, that's my little gripe, I guess.
Yeah, and I just want to interrupt and say for a second that if you do watch the end credits, the red stuff does sneak up on. You know how they usually show the ring,
yes.
And then so there is a little there's a little bit of something, but it's not quite
shows that I enjoy and shows that I despise all the same. When I arrive to the final episode, I make a point of watching the opening credits.
Right.
It's the final episode. So I give
you gotta
the respect of watching the full credits in the beginning and in the end. Because sometimes you skip, sometimes but final episode, it's a thing. I watch it, I concentrate, I like to see how things end,
Give it
even for shows as
its due,
that are
like
dreadful.
yeah.
Yeah, like you've lived this far, might as well just finish it correctly. But yeah, I did notice that. I'm ready for spoilers. I've seen everything, says Blue. Good man.
So that was the B plot, yeah, throughout the whole season,
Mm.
which is something different that they from like previously. Like I don't recall there being quite an overt mystery box sprinkle. Like it opened every single episode, right?
Yeah,
Like
I think
yeah,
the
like
closest thing was like I was gonna say the mycelial network because it was blue and spores, but no, the closest thing was the what was it called? They got the protomatter,
oh, the
protomolecule,
protomolecule. Like in season one, yeah,
protomolecule in
we get
season one.
little, yeah, we get little
Because it's because we
side
get
stories.
Miller looking
Yeah,
for the protomolecule, so I get like he's unraveling the mystery, kind of. I guess it's a mix between that and what season 4 was, like the entirety of season 4 being on an alien world.
right, right, right. What was that? Ilum.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
the
don't want
planet.
to go back there. It's a shit place.
Yeah, it was a ship place. It's true.
Who the hell would want to settle on that shit?
I haven't read any of the Expanse books. I think I'm gonna finally pick them up now that who knows if the show's over, but now that we're like at this stopping point, at this like kind of
Mm.
like big point, and the show has kind of wrapped all these like things up from the first 6 seasons. I think I'm gonna have to pick them up because the Laconia stuff was very intriguing to me as well,
Mm.
and especially upon I just rewatched the whole season today. I know, that's
Crazy man.
crazy, man. It's not exactly 6 hours because some episodes are a little shorter, and and
Yep.
so on and so forth. But it was quite an undertaking. But it all fits like really beautiful. Like watching it in a binge like that, it actually all fits really beautifully, and it's a little more recent. Since you just saw it like 40 minutes ago or whatever. So the pacing and the way it all fits together, and like the excitement building up to that ending where he's like, he's at the funeral. Like in episode 5, he's at the funeral and he's like comforting the little girl whose name I forget, but I remember her brother's name, Zan or Alexander. But anyways, comforting her. Oh, it was Kara. Anyways, when he's comforting her in that scene, and then that crazy guy from last season or whatever comes in, like he's like, we've initiated a pattern or whatever. I know that there's probably something in that like book readers are probably like, oh my god, like like really excited about. So I want to be in. I now want to be
How
in
many
on
books are
that.
there at this point? There's like 7 or 8 books, or am
I
I
think so. Yeah,
mistaken?
I think there's 7 or 8. Here,
Well,
let's take a look.
I know that the seasons probably don't translate well to the books because I haven't read them either. But like putting the books
8.
put okay 8 books. Hot damn. Putting the books. I'm pretty sure like one season doesn't equate to one book. I'm pretty sure they didn't do that. But
Right.
putting all the books aside, The Expanse is one of those shows where each season really does feel like a chapter. And so it kind of has an end every time, but it's like it has an end, but it's not like an open ending. Ooh, we can do more. It's kind of like this chapter of the story has ended. We still have more to tell, and I feel like that's how they ended. But they ended the first novel, I guess. When it comes to season 6, it didn't just end a chapter. It ended like the first big novel, which I feel was really the conflict between like the inners and the belters. Right? It was
Yeah.
Mars, Earth, and the belt. And I feel
Yeah.
like now we're kind of moving away from that, and we can go beyond, literally.
Also, yeah, I agree. It also like kind of like with Kamina Drummer taking the lead of the transit authority and like all of that, like it finally felt like why are you laughing? What's
Oh, because
the
I don't. I've come to a point now where, and this is not because I'm good or anything. It's just because you watch so many shows that things become evident after a
Oh, you
while.
knew like that was
No, but I
you.
didn't know that. I did not
Oh,
see
okay.
the drummer thing. I'm sure that, like, if you've read the book, then you know that it happens. But I did
It
not see the
doesn't.
drummer.
That's one
Oh,
of the things I found out that they
oh.
changed from I'm sure they've done a lot of these things,
I
but
was actually pretty
yeah.
confused, admittedly. I was like, why is Holden doing like that? Doesn't feel like a him thing to do. But then when he when he gives the position to drummer, you're like, okay, that feels like a Holden thing.
Exactly. No, I think that was a good course correction because, and it's also like very fitting of like just kind of like as a comment, The Expanse has done, I think, a really good job of being a show that like, doesn't it can be relevant to the things that are going on in our current times, but in a way that's like not so over the top or hits you on the
Mm.
head with. It's like you
Yep.
definitely get the sense that this is you get the sense that humanity hasn't changed all that much, even though they've expanded to like the solar
Yeah.
system in a lot of ways. But then again, it still gives you that sense of hope in gestures like what Holden does, where he clearly sees that this is the right thing to do, and again doesn't fail as a character. Like his character, I think, is beautifully summed up when Avasarala in the final episode is like, you're such a fucking optimist. It's a wonder you're still alive." Like to me, that was like, oh my god, this is like a genius like moment. And it's true. That's what he really truly is. He Holden truly sees the best in people, no matter what, like no matter who it is and stuff like that. So that
Well, he
scene was
always
also,
tries to. He just never
yeah.
stops trying. Whatever the hell he's doing it. It's like, God damn. I will admit he became a little uninteresting to me in like seasons maybe 4 or 5. Like he was kind of drifting into just he's like the shell of the hero, right? Like he's just a very bland, vanilla guy that was made to be the hero, and he was like the vessel for like the tools that were Miller and the aliens, that kind of stuff. But in this season, I felt like he really re-became the character that I enjoyed like
Yeah,
in the first few seasons, and things like I'm not going to be the person that kills your son because you have to come and
that was
like
such a good
line.
scene. What
Yeah,
a good
it's like
scene. Yeah.
there's a big. I know it's horrible to make your wife kill her own son, but technically speaking,
That's her place.
it
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
more sense, right?
Yeah.
Like from a
Yeah.
mental health perspective, I think it's actually easier for her.
Well, yeah, it's her place to make
Ninth
that
and
call.
final book released in November, says Jill. Oh
Oh,
wow,
great. Okay, cool. Oh, wow. All right. So, yeah, there's definitely plenty of
you can
stories.
binge read now.
Yeah, I can totally visually. I get so the point is I guess there's plenty of stories to be told. But yeah, that was really a powerful moment too. She hits, the impact of like the way the scene plays out and everything. Like that like when she hits the overload button on the Jum Batista at the very end there, that's how heavy it is. Like that what
Yeah,
she's doing.
I of
Uh,
course like you knew he wasn't on the ship, right?
I didn't. I
There was
didn't
no
know
way he was on the
that.
ship.
I know. I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind
It's
of
so
obvious. That's
obvious.
like
He
super
leaves,
obvious. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Like, well,
he doesn't
that we
leave.
don't know that. Like,
No, he's
so the
sitting there.
last time
He's
we see
sitting
him,
there
he
thinking about the
closes, yeah,
fact
and he
that yeah,
closes his eyes.
no,
Like, I
it's
don't
like
agree.
come on,
Everyone else is
like
doing like Velta Loda,
no,
Velta
no.
Loda. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's true.
he's not saying it.
But yeah, you're right. When you think about it, duh. Okay, fine. But how satisfying is it that over the narration at the end, giving that like
Oh
really
yeah, no,
awesome
it
like
was
thing,
well done.
like showing
I
it
was
like
almost
as a
expecting him to like appear on the ship's bleeper, like while they were discussing in bed, and then like, wait a minute, no, they didn't do that. Poor
but
kid though, he's now drifting in space somewhere on this little skiff piece of shit there.
he'll find his way. But I love that he changes like the name that he puts in is Philip Nagata at the end.
Yes.
Obviously you could be cynical and say, well, he can't be
Well,
Philip.
if you put Inaros,
Yeah,
you'll get shot.
you're gonna get shot down. It's true, but like
Immediately. I wouldn't
it's
even put in Philip. I would have just straight up lied. I'd be like, okay, I'm Bob Ruth.
Stanley
Moving on.
Barbara Ruth. I like that. I'm Barbara Ruth. Hello, nice to meet you.
It's
What a
like this.
name.
Moving on, there ain't no Philip.
But yeah, that was extremely satisfying about the ending. There were a lot of things that tied in. I know you guys love me, but you guys point out my hyperbolic kind of statements that I make all the time because it's true. They are a little bit, they're a little.
Especially when the shows aren't like when the shows I think The Expanse is generally enough conceived as one of the best science fictions of our time,
Yes,
which means you
so I
can be
could
a little
be,
hyperbolic.
I could be a little
There are certain other
hyperbolic.
shows that aren't that well regarded, so it's kind of odd that you'd go that far. But
But I genuinely, and in rewatching it, I genuinely feel that as an ending to a series, or at least like as a who knows when we'll see it again point in the series, or what will happen next point in the series.
mhm.
It was to me a very similar vibe to all good things, which I think is a masterpiece. I think that like I think TNG, has its faults and everything, but that like ending just kind of like beautifully brought everything together. And it's not quite the same, exact type of thing here. Like we didn't have like, the crisis of like, time unraveling and all that good
Yet they
stuff.
didn't go that far.
It didn't go that
It's
far.
science fiction, but they try to like they keep it
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah. It's really actually. I hope we talk about that a little bit because I do want to say some more hyperbolic things about the Expanse in general, but just to me the tone and like the way that the episode was structured and everything, especially that ending with just like it's kind of like the happy ending, but like the ending that doesn't end in a weird way,
Yes,
if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, Holden's like, let's go be bodyguards for freighters,
just
or
another
like,
job.
yeah, another job, like, or let's go be consultants, like on, past the ring gate, or and he even brings up there's still that proto molecule sample, which is
I'm very happy they actually addressed that.
yeah, they still
Because
address that.
I've
Yeah.
always had this feeling that the protomolecule story was kind of abandoned. Like they had a whole thing with like a protomolecule person running around. Like there was heavy blue CG people running around, and then eventually that kind of just faded into nothingness. You're like, what
Yeah.
the? So I'm happy that they're still addressing the protomolecule and that it's still very much like a threat. The fact that it's out there, you don't know who has it, where
Well,
it is.
we know Admiral Duarte has it. It's on Laconia, and who knows what's happening. I don't know anything.
I don't
I
know what
didn't.
the fuck's going
I
on
didn't.
over there.
I yeah. So
That's a scary place. I don't want to go there either. I'll stay on Earth. Thank you.
I normally like to spoil myself. Like I normally like to go and find out what happens in the books or things like that. And for some reason, with the Expanse, I've never done it. The show's just so satisfying to me that I don't want to live outside of the world of the
What's
show. It's weird.
interesting is I love The Expanse so much. I don't even watch interviews or like behind the scenes. I very rarely do. Like now and then you'll send me a video of like them. There was the actor playing Philip Nagata. He was, I call him Philip Nagata now. He was shown around the ship, and so
Yeah.
I watched that because it was okay. It's like you can see the set. It's interesting, but but then immediately hearing him, you're like, ah, fuck, he doesn't speak like a belter. All of these actors are brilliant, by the way, just absolutely amazing. But yeah, I really, I love the show so much that I want to keep the show just the show, right?
Right,
It's
like
bizarre.
you're still obsessing over what the show is. Like
Yeah,
you're
I
still
haven't
like
gotten to
really
that
very much
point
into
where I
it.
wanna look at like the behind the
The
scenes
behind
and
the
how they
scenes
did
and all that
that.
stuff,
I
yeah.
wouldn't even want to like do a deep dive kind of Easter egg kind of thing for The Expanse. Like if I had read the books or whatever, like I'm not interested in that. I would like I review them or I would talk about them in depth and try, but I don't know. It's a yeah. I'm just like a fanboy, I guess, of this show, and that's it.
Yeah, totally. Same here. I'm like a huge fanboy of the show. I mean, like you and I have basically when did we first like start talking about the Expanse? It was basically since season 1 pretty much, right? Like
Was it
maybe
that
midway.
early?
It might have been at midway. When did it first when did the Expanse first air?
I don't
Um
know. We didn't know each other when The Expanse first started, I think.
I don't know if we did. You're right.
But I caught up on season well,
Yeah,
season
because I
one.
think it started in Seattle when I was still in Seattle. Maybe I don't
Season
know.
one hadn't finished coming out when I started the show because I
Mm.
was looking for science fiction. I was like, I need to find some good science fiction, and everyone like on the internet, it always comes up Battlestar Galactica. I was like, look, I have no bias, but that shit is old, so I don't want to watch that. I want to watch something current, but then I didn't want to watch something like Legends of Tomorrow. I wanted real science fiction. Real current, and then so I thought, The Expanse. There's like I think there was like 3 episodes or 4 episodes. I'm like, okay, I'll see what this is, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
I think we also were bonding because we were kind of having a miserable time with Discovery season 1 to some degree, and we were always remember we kept saying like, oh my gosh, the Expanse is doing what I was like really wanting, and like
Yeah, it was
and
so
stuff like
mean.
that, and like and no, and it
They're
wasn't
very
like
different shows.
yeah, they're
They're
very
made for
different
different
shows,
purposes
but
and for
we
different people.
started this
I get
stupid
it.
thing, which I think it's stupid, but it's still fun, where we were like for a while we were like
The
we were
Expanse
canceling
could replace Enterprise.
yes. We were canceling Enterprise and we were
Well, the
saying
more
that
the
this was
show,
the actual, yeah,
the more
like,
the show progressed, like the more the Expanse progressed,
yeah.
the less that's possible.
That's less possible. It's true. And Fathery, our friend Fathery pointed out that they both take place at the same time, actually. So the Expanse actually
Like I'm,
puts.
I'm gonna be very brutally honest here. Like the Expanse is miles above like Enterprise. Like I got a lot of love for Enterprise,
Yeah, but
and I got like I no hate towards anyone that was on that thing, but like the Expanse is on a whole other level.
but yeah, it's kind of, I feel like the Expanse is kind of resetting my expectations of what 300 years from now will be like, because in my mind it's all the USS Enterprise and things like that, but in reality it'll probably be more like what we
Yes.
see in
Okay.
the
Well,
Expanse, the
let's
future of humanity.
let's get hyperbolic, right?
Yeah.
I think that the Expanse is the most accurate depiction of what will happen to humanity. And this is like maybe putting
Minus
aside
the
the
proto
proto
molecule, yeah,
molecule and the
yeah,
alien shit and
yeah,
the
and the
rings
alien
and
stuff.
okay,
Yeah, like
but I feel
the
like this is
landscape, the environment, yeah,
yes,
everything, yeah.
and that's what makes the show so great because like even earlier you were talking about were you side mentioning like representation or that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you were implying, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
with Kamina, yeah,
with Kamina Drummer,
yeah,
be it like positive representation or be it even like the racism that's going on, of course it's on a different scale. Like everyone on earth, regardless of their gender or anything, they seem to be fine with each other. It's just that they're not fine with people from Mars and they're not fine with people from the belt. So racism has evolved, or like bigotry has evolved to
evolved.
I guess to like different scales. And then of course now we have everyone's united, so it'll be the people from beyond the rings and the people from before the rings, I guess, that'll hate each other
It
because
it
that hate always remains somehow,
it
sadly. But I feel like that's the most accurate depiction of what humanity will be, and that's why I think we connected this, like we wanted to cancel Enterprise and replace it. It's because somehow, to me, the Expanse has become the new Star Trek. Like it has done what Star Trek the original series did in the 60s. Like it showed us kind of like I guess an optimistic in a certain point of view because the people that we follow in the Expanse are very optimistic.
Yeah, well,
Like the crew
Holden,
that we follow,
yeah,
they're like
and the crew, yeah, it's like it is really in a lot of ways. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but you just remind. It's kind of like almost you're right. The Rocinante
same
is
thing.
like the Enterprise. Yeah, it's kind of like it's like
And then even
it's
from a
interesting. Yeah,
production point of view, like the show is unanimously loved but cancelled, and then fans bring it back,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it carries on, and
It
it
had
and
a
it
very similar. Yeah, you're
and
right. It
it
has
has
a
like a
very similar
huge cultural
story.
impact in the science fiction genre. It's very similar, and it's I think spearheading, and it's at the forefront of a lot of genius concepts in science fiction on television at the moment. Because yes, like Raised by Wolves and Foundation stuff like, and I know that Foundation maybe that's a bit of a cheat because that was written in what 1901, but
No, 40 something, but yeah, it's like
you get my
or
point.
50 something. Yeah,
Maybe
it's
there's
like,
maybe that's a but I feel like the Expanse is um the new thing doing all the firsts and accomplishing them better because I got like Discovery's doing its part in terms of representation and stuff like that, but sometimes they're a little, and I know it's a bit ridiculous to say this, but they're a little like heavy-handed with it. um and this is coming from me, and it comes from people that are part of the communities that are underrepresented as well. Whereas the Expanse, everything is always so seamless. They don't make a point of saying, oh look, there's this person, there's that. It's just there are people. And then with the racism, it's the same thing. There's people that hate each other, people that love each other. I
well,
don't know, it feels
I think
also
I think
natural the way they execute it.
I think that you're touching on something that I feel, which is for a long time growing up watching the original series and the original series films, it was humanity's future. Like that's how I like genuinely viewed it, like from not just the perspective of like wanting to have like a federation and like humans be generally like like respectful and kind to each other and gotten over all these like prejudices and like evolved further and stuff like that. But just from a technological perspective, it was like very compelling. Like, oh yeah, if we keep going out into space, like we'll have colonies on other planets, we'll discover other, solar systems, we'll meet other species perhaps. Like this is like all, thing. At some point, Star Trek caught up to reality because it depicted reality in a weird way. Like it kept saying like, oh yeah, like in 1996 this is going to happen or whatever, like all these kinds of
Yeah.
things. And so Star Trek had to separate itself from that. Like it was harder to relate to Star Trek as anything but a fictional thing that I
Yes.
love, but just to
Yeah.
relate to it like in that
Well, we
sense.
didn't have a third world war in the 1990s.
Exactly, and thank goodness. Don't get me wrong. Like I did not want Star Trek to be right about those
We
things.
can predict phones and view screens and shit, but we don't need to predict no
We
like
don't need to predict those
wars.
things. But you understand what I'm saying. It's like Star Trek didn't go that far. Like didn't think that far ahead. Like they didn't realize. Oh, I guess they didn't realize. Like oh, what are we gonna do when 1996 comes around and people can't relate to those things anymore because now 1996 didn't turn out like that. And that's what I love about
I don't think they
the
planned the shows that way though. Like
they
in the
didn't know. You're
60s, they were
right.
just writing an episode for
Yeah,
the week,
no,
and it's
I
like,
get it, but I'm just saying the residual effect was that like we're all like, and that's what I love about the Expanse is it like kind of gave me that feeling of like, oh, because it doesn't bother to tell you like in 2053 something happened or in 2072 it doesn't care about the past because it's like the past is what you're living. Like so at no matter what point like until 300 years from now when we actually do get to like the events of the Expanse.
what year did it take place
Oh,
in? I
hold on, let me
forget.
see.
Or do I know? I don't even know if
Uh,
I know.
what year does Expanse take place in?
Yeah.
Hold on.
There's actually a whole lot of classism going on in The Expanse,
2350.
which
So
is
that's
very
when
interesting
the
because we
Expanse.
didn't get that in Star Trek. Like now a bit with Picard and people eating mush, but like during like the original series, and I guess they were miners sometimes on planets, but they weren't necessarily like of a lower class. They were just they just had difficulty getting resources to their planets, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was very different. So like
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't the same
different.
kind of struggle. Sorry, you were saying?
But no, 2350. So it's basically the same as TOS, like around that. What is it? What's
No,
TOS?
it's the same as TNG
TNG even. Oh my gosh, it's even further. That's right.
because
So yeah,
TNG
yeah,
is
right.
like
23. I thought it was
2360.
2360s. You're right. You're right. You're right. So yeah, it's not even TOS. It's like so,
It feels more, yeah.
but but
TNG
stop.
doesn't feel like real life. Let's be
But
honest.
stopping for a second to like put that into perspective, like in the 2350s, humanity is already well established on Mars for many generations, has a presence in the belt, and throughout our whole is traveling easily throughout the whole solar system. I hope we achieve that a lot sooner, but that makes more sense in terms of like the amount of time it would take to reach that level of progress based on what we're seeing
But then that makes
currently.
most sense for us now, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
people in the 1960s, like what made sense for them? Like the
Like,
year 2000.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
look at
The
the
year
the
the
book and
year
the film.
like
Yeah,
2300. Like goddamn, of course they thought TNG
that
would be a thing, right?
yeah, they were thinking on time scales though that were like a lot more optimistic in terms of what
Yeah.
humanity
It was
would
like we
achieve.
all
Yeah,
have to drop everything now and start working toward that.
right.
Right.
Which definitely didn't happen.
No, not so much.
A lot of different things happen in the chat.
What's going
It
on?
says it's about the pitfalls of tribalism, oppression, overpopulation, believing propaganda. Yeah, that's totally
Hmm.
how Expanse deals with humanity. I agree with that.
I am constantly terrified by the fact that belters cannot go on a planet. Like I find that
Your
so
physiology
I
changes.
find
Yeah.
that so scary. Just the idea like cuz I'm not claustrophobic, but I feel like being in space is like being trapped. It's weird because it's very vast. It's like infinite, but it feels very it's like you're trapped when you're in space, right? Like
Yeah, you're on this little
getting back
tiny.
down
Yeah.
on a planet with an orbit, that feels like freedom, I guess. And these
Like
people, they,
relief.
yeah, but these people, they're like, they're on series. Like that's it. They can never leave this rock. It's how terrifying is that? I guess maybe it's similar to like Earth, but I don't know. It feels like because
Well,
if they
we
have a containment breach or some shit, what happens? Like they're so dependent on I guess the system that's in place, like the mechanical system and the technology that's in place. Whereas on Earth, technically, like if everything fails, well, you still have Earth, right? You can still breathe the air and grow your crops. What can they
Yeah,
do?
totally. No, and we see a little bit of this, like astronauts who spend a lot of time on the space station. They come back a little, like it's a little harder at first. So imagine like generation. This is like we're talking about by the time the Expanse opens. By the way, I think the first season was 2016, so I think we were just getting acquainted around that time, if I'm not
Well, we
mistaken.
got acquainted probably early 2017, I think, because I got to Canada in like November 2016, and I hadn't yet started the chats with you, I think. Is that it? We'd have to go back and see
I
what our
think, yeah,
first
we'll have to go back and
conversations.
look at our timeline.
We'll have to do some archiving, I think.
Jill says it's okay to say Jill Starfleet, but yes, okay, I'm sorry.
Being told off now.
I don't know why I was being so like the audience is saying something in the chats. Like
That's
it's
what they
true.
do
It's
on Twitch. They
it's
don't
true.
say Ames, they just say chat.
Chat,
Chat
right?
chat is saying this or chat is saying this. We've all become chat now.
You've all become chat.
No,
Sorry, Blue.
we'll
No, we
do
like a personal
we'll,
touch.
we'll do chat when there's thousands of you. Okay, for the moment, there's like
For
two
the
people watching. We can name you.
Yeah, it's very nice that there's two of you all here. Thank you. Speaking of which, share your thoughts about this season of The Expanse, and I guess The Expanse in general, because since we're talking about like a full
Everything.
series, everything in a way. That was a nice scene, harkening back to the lasagna in this episode when they were
Yes,
all at the dinner
there was a
table. That was
very big
really cool.
sense of family in
Yeah,
this episode. Like they framed it for that. They had the little emotional musics, the little beats. It was good, and the whole boss thing.
that
It's
was a
like
great moment. Yeah.
the character has now grown out of him saying boss, and now someone is calling him boss. It's like he's grown a lot, really a lot.
Yeah. Did you trust Amos when you first met him?
I guess indirectly because I trusted Naomi,
Naomi, yeah, I
right?
guess
It's
that's true.
like
Yeah.
I was basically like she has a dog on a leash.
I didn't know if I was gonna like him as much as I love Amos.
Well, I
Like
just
now
thought
at
he
the
was
end of this,
muscle, right?
yeah,
And
I
that's
thought he
what he
was like
was,
that
I
too.
think.
Yeah, he was like that. Yeah, but there's so much more to his character, especially last season. Like when we get like his brother, and like we find out about his past that he was, like basically a
Mm.
child prostitute, and there was that little moment at the end. Did you get that reference with the? That is one thing I had to look up with the
No,
little.
I don't. I just assumed that was a pin he had before. Like, was that a pin that he had? I assumed that was a thing from last season that he used
Yeah,
to have when he was on Earth. Or where was he from?
I
Boston,
guess he's had the pin. Yeah, from Baltimore. I know all
Baltimore.
our American cities like seem the same. No, I'm just kidding. Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken, one of our good friends Braxton lives in Baltimore, so he can tell us a little bit more
People
about it.
from Baltimore don't say Baltimore, do they? They say Baltimore. And
Baltimore?
isn't that what they say?
No,
Do
I've
they, do
never
they,
heard
do they not
Balt.
pronounce the T?
No, they
Do they?
do.
They do?
Baltimore.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Where have you heard Baltimore?
I don't know.
Sounds like Voldemort.
It does, but I feel like they don't. I don't know. I have this thing where I kind of remember they don't say the T's. Anyway,
Anyway, so apparently, because I didn't understand quite, so I did have to look that up because I remembered, I I remembered that little bit. Anyways, it's fleshed out in the comics. There was a character when he was young, when he was a kid and he was hustling. Um, a friend of his who was, or I guess like another boy who was being, trafficked, was had given him that little pin just before he committed suicide. So that was like special to Amos
uh,
because of that. So it was a really touching
so she
moment.
recreated that little pin.
The little pin for him and put it on herself, which was cool too. Like kind of like a another thing tying them together.
Mm.
What did you?
I thought she was gonna die. To be honest,
I did too. I did not expect, but I was glad that she didn't. Although there is the time limit on her lifespan. Well, I'm sure they'll find a way
it's
to
it,
save her,
they're not gonna Picard her, but
but
it's interesting that so far into like the show we have finally had like what was she called? Her sister, the girl that died in season
oh,
one.
yeah, um well, she's Clarissa, and I forget the name. I can't believe I've
Okay,
forgotten the
I've
name
forgotten. They talk.
of
They talk about her like for the whole
the
first
whole
season,
season. Yeah, like we're just
and then
like
she's like a character, but she's never in it. She
she's
like only
never in
has a
it.
few flashback scenes, and then when you find her, it's like the most depressing thing you've ever seen. I think that's what might put off
Julie Mao.
Julie.
Oh, thank you. That was
I think
Jill
that's
who
what I
posted it
think
at the same
that's
time.
what might. Oh, by the way, Jill, Braxton said in a conversation that he lives in Baltimore, but he's not from there. So
Oh, gotcha.
he doesn't have an accent from there, so he doesn't count. You don't count, Braxton. Anyway, yeah, no,
Wow.
Julie, I don't count either. I don't have an accent from anywhere. Come on. Yeah, Julie Mao was like a huge thing in the early seasons, and I think it was interesting to actually have a connection because in the later seasons we had her father, and now finally like we actually have one of her family with us, and I like the connection, and the
It's
season did a lot of that. This season kind of bookended. That's why I was calling it like the end of kind of the first novel. It bookended a lot of
yeah.
things that happened in the earlier seasons.
It's interesting. I never would have predicted that Clarissa Mao would end up on the Rocinante as a part of her crew a few seasons ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird how and cool how the show kind of brought us to this place. I also like I like that the show, even though they had to do to kill off Alex, the character Alex, because I think that's another thing. Obviously, in the books, he continues on. So I like that the crew referenced him a couple times, and there was that like nice moment between in the finale, especially. There was that nice moment between. Bobby and Holden, where she's telling him the story of how like on Mars they still call it the Tachi,
Mm.
and that like that must have like
I've
killed
forgotten about
Amos.
that name, by the way. Like
Yeah, I forgot it.
it's
It
the
was
Rossi.
that's another
And
great
then
thing about the
when they
finale
talk
is
about
that
the
like
Tachi, I was
yeah,
like, oh yeah, that's right.
and the cant we got the reference to the
I never forgot
Canterbury.
the
Like
cant.
you never
I always remember the cant.
remember the cant.
I've never
You
forgotten.
never forgot.
Also, Miller. Every time I put an episode of The Expanse on, in my mind, I'm going, Miller,
He's such a
Miller.
he's such a great character, right?
He
Like
was
he's
my
a like
favorite character in
character.
like so many. Like there are three characters that died in shows. There's Miller, there's Trip, and then there's a character in Fear the Walking Dead. And those are three characters that I just can't get over the deaths. I'm like,
Oh wow,
ah.
what's the Fear the Walking Dead
Well, I don't
character?
want to spoil it in case
Oh
people
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
seen
Sorry,
it.
let's not spoil it.
Because I know that everyone's probably seen Star Trek, but
I like what Jill's saying. Amos had no moral center in season one and relied on Naomi to steer him. That's why she was the boss. Yeah, it's the same. They're like the interestingly like
I think he didn't want to either. He didn't want to invest like into thinking for himself. I guess it felt like he was just like I'm in for the ride. This person helped me. I'm gonna dedicate my life to this person and help them, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's kind of
I think
what I
yeah, I think
felt.
like I think his life up until that point of meeting Naomi had like for whatever reason he just given up caring. I think he must have had a moral center a long time ago and lost it through the hardships that he had to go through. And that's what's so wonderful about I hope you can't hear that. I'm sorry if you
What
can,
the hell
but
is going on?
it's just, it's the evening time here at the Starfleet Boy
He
household
has
and
spontaneous hurricanes in his in his room next door.
folks are cooking and stuff. But I do appreciate that over the 6 seasons we saw
Steamed
him
hams.
saw him gain his what steamed hams. What are you talking about? Are you like
Sorry.
we saw him gain back his humanity, and that was like a huge arc. And it's beautiful that he's doing the same. He's doing the exact same thing Naomi did for him for Clarissa,
Hmm.
who basically like she's probably it's a complicated story, but like just with what her father did plus her sister, like it's not an easy story, and like he's that family is hated throughout the solar
Oh yeah.
system and stuff like that. So it's an interesting thing, and I love that Amos, like that moment with the boss was just like beautifully done, and like I just like thought also just the whole crew's like acceptance was earned, like Clarissa's acceptance was very earned because it didn't just happen all of a sudden this season. Like you definitely saw it building up to this with Amos giving a shit about her and going after her, like, well, going over to talk to her and
But
then
again,
like,
it always
yeah,
feels realistic. It's not like some sort of overdramatic, melodramatic show where someone's going to try and murder her in her sleep. You know what I mean? It does like that's not what happens in real life.
yeah,
People are just kind of bitter and they don't want to talk to you, and they kind of maybe try to push you away,
right,
even if it's like subconsciously. That's kind of
right.
what happens in real life. It's not all, there isn't like a trial by combat happening.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly, exactly. No, it's true.
And then it evolves, and then you realize that no, she is invested in like helping, I guess, the galaxy, or helping um, good people and doing good, and she really wants to, I guess, be forgiven.
Right.
Yeah, she wants
It's
to be
like the
forgiven,
it's
but
like
she's
what
also working to correct the wrongs that she's done, right?
yeah, it's
And
like
you
what
can see
Naomi
that.
says when she cooks dinner for them. She says that she says something along the lines of she's trying to wash her hands, of the blood,
Mm.
and that's what she wanted for Philip too, which is sad that like she didn't get it, but at the same time, here's someone that they are saving through their
He's gonna have a
example and
shit
stuff like
life.
that.
I'm sorry. He's gonna have a life that's good, but it's gonna be a shit one. Like he's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be
on trial.
There's a huge time jump apparently between the novel that this one's based on. It's called Babylon's Ashes, just like the episode title for the last one. And then with the next one, which is called Persepolis Rising, and I think Persepolis, I don't remember, is like a city, a Greek city, or something. Let me see if I can.
It sounds like a Babylon or Constantinople kind of thing. Anyway, Amos was the most complex character in the show, in my opinion. His history of child sexual abuse and violence left him living for nothing but protecting those who needed it, especially found family, as in the Rossi. Yeah, yeah, it's very surprising that he became such a complex character, and I think I've seen one interview with him where he was talking to what's his name, guy from MythBusters, um,
Oh,
Adam
not
Savage. Yeah,
is it
no, that's it.
Savage? Okay, cool,
Yeah, it's Adam
cool.
Savage. And they were discussing like the complexity of his character and how he evolved and how it was challenging and like a great experience as an actor too.
Yeah, Wes Chatham, Chatham, or yeah, Wes Chatham, right? That's his name, the actor. He also got to
I
host
don't know how to
the
pronounce it.
official podcast, apparently. So that was a neat thing.
That's pretty
I
cool.
didn't, I didn't listen to it. I'm gonna probably go listen to it now. Like
Oh,
now
now
that
you're
it,
fully invested. Now
yeah,
that the
now I'm
show's over,
fully,
you're gonna do
yeah, I'm
everything,
gonna do all the
all of it.
things. Yeah, I
You're gonna
can't.
try
I
and get
gotta.
micro doses.
But yeah, so he was doing it's on YouTube too, which is cool. So it's like he basically copied ABTG and made
Basically, yeah. It's like
it.
everyone looked at the channel like, hey, why don't we do that?
Let's just do that. No, but it's on YouTube. It's really cool, and I think that like that's the other cool thing about the Expanse in general is that like it's the first time I've seen. I feel like the Expanse fans are not so different from like the fandom that I associate with the most is the Star Trek fandom, and I feel like
Hmm.
the Expanse has its own kind of cool thing going on, and like that community is really bonded because they saved the show. So I feel like the Expanse is going to be around for a long, long
They bought a
time.
plane
They
and a
bought-
sign.
so yeah,
People is crazy, yo.
so Persepolis was the ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire from
Okay.
550 to 330 BC.
Well, they
It is
probably addressed that in the Eternals, didn't they?
yeah, that's probably what that is actually. Now that I think look at you all fresh off of being caught up and
I haven't
like
seen
drop.
it in its entirety
Oh,
yet.
you
I've only
haven't.
seen two-thirds of the Eternals, but I was falling asleep,
So you
um,
had to stop yourself so you
so I
could
had
give
to
it.
stop.
You had to
Yeah,
stop yourself. My mom when we watched it together, she was just like, "Why is this movie so long?" And I was like, "No, it's great." Like she was
it is
like,
too long.
"It's a little
I understand
long."
that. Look, quick side note on Eternals, and I say this without having finished it. I'm not a moron. I understand that there are huge concepts to introduce, that there are very big characters to talk about, and that there are a lot of actors that lead another. Like everyone needs screen time, right? But it's too fucking long. It doesn't need to be this long. Like there are certain scenes where you're like, I understand the concept of the character. You don't need to have it like be this long to explain to me why this character is doing this. But anyway, we'll talk about it once we've finished it.
Yeah. Maybe you'll invite me onto that ABTG. We'll see
I don't know. I don't
if you're
know
gonna
if
do a
I need to
discussion about
do
it.
an eternal discussion, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. But that's pretty funny. The other thing I really liked, it's funny. I feel like we're talking about the whole season, but we're talking a lot about stuff that happens in the last episode, and I think that's a credit to how much payoff you get from the whole series just in the last episode, because there's so many like
Yes.
reference points in the last episode that you can just bounce off of and talk about. But one of the things that I really liked also was seeing Avasarala say that, like, I once hung a belter up on hooks just because I could do that, and that's what people know me as, and that's not who I am
Well,
anymore.
that's what makes you love her character, like in the first
In the first
season.
season, remember how much
Plus,
of
you
an
don't love
earther
you.
I was? Do you remember how
Yeah,
much of
yeah,
an
I
earther I
do. I
was?
do.
It's
We
true.
don't love like the fact that she's torturing or whatever, but it you fall in love with the performance, and you fall in love with how like just she's like a Cersei kind of 10 times worse, right? On like like a planetary scale, I guess, or like on a galactic scale, maybe
Yeah, but there's always
a solar
something
system.
about there's always something they did a good job of humanizing her early on with her family. I always thought, like, you did have
With the
Avasarala who,
recasting of the husband
yeah, you were so
and the
upset about
changing of
that.
the name too.
Oh wait, did they? I forgot that they changed the name.
Yeah, they did a few bizarre things
I
with
remember
the.
we talked about this before, but yeah, I blocked that out of my mind. I don't remember so well, like what happened, but regardless, it did do a good job of humanizing her. I thought with all the characters really,
I
because
think it's her
you had
relationship with drama that really not with drama with
with
Bobby
Bobby.
that
Bobby's such a
really
good, yeah,
works for
yeah.
me. Yeah, the relationship that they had, and I don't know, like that really showed me that Avasarala is like she's a human. She's actually capable of feeling shit. And even though she's very plotting and she's very intelligent, right? And she knows, like, she doesn't hesitate to sacrifice lives or to take like I guess make hard decisions. But the thing, and I don't know if it's the final episode or like I think it's the final one, but in this season at one point she asked the question like, what are the odds of winning this? Like, do we actually have odds of winning this battle? Because if we're just sending people in to die and
Yeah.
then like maybe they'll win it, like there's been enough bloodshed that is this senseless. Like I can get behind a fight that will kill a lot of people if we know it's going to have a conclusion. But if we're just going to send people in for the sake of sending people in, like waves and waves, like they're not Zergs for fuck's sake. These people, you know what I mean?
Wait,
Like
what's a Zerg?
Zerglings, Zergs, StarCraft.
Oh, okay. I don't know that.
Sorry. Well, they're not. What the Flood?
But they
Halo? Maybe. No, not Halo either. God damn it! I don't know where to go now.
they're just not Zergs. Let's just go with
They're
that. Like,
humans.
yeah, they're humans. So, but yeah, exactly. Like her, and I do like that moment where you see her. I think that's interesting too that you say that, because we have that other moment later where Bobby's like, "Listen, she finally." Bobby's like the whole time being very respectful and everything, like. And then she finally like snaps at one point when Avasarala is just being so mean to her, and and stuff like that, like throughout the whole thing
Well, she could
she's
have
like.
you hanged, you stupid Martian. That's the problem, isn't it?
But then she's like, you know what? Actually, that softness might work here and there a little bit, but we do need you to be ruthless, because I still believe we're the good guys, and like
Oh,
we
here
do
we
need
go.
that, like, that decisiveness and stuff like that.
I think she's talking about us. They have barely mentioned drama so far.
We're gonna talk. We'll talk about her
Okay, fine. Let's talk
about
about Drummer is an amazing character. I have one small. I guess it's a bit. I feel like um they really went quickly with the like Drummer of Asarala alliance thing. Like I feel like that was a little rushed. It gave me Rome vibes. Like I don't know if you've ever seen Rome.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't remember exactly
Okay,
what
Rome
you're
is an
referencing
amazing
though.
Rome
Yeah.
is an amazing show that should have spanned for like a million seasons and a half, right? But for some reason, I think it was because it cost too much and like it was too ahead of its time. it came before Game of Thrones, but it was already Game of Thrones. It was just people weren't ready, so they canceled it. And so, dude that's writing this thing has to wrap up basically every single all of these plot threads that he's just thrown, and he has to wrap them up in like 5 episodes to finish his
Oh, he
season.
had one
And
less episode than than they did
no, I
here.
think the season was like 8 or
Oh,
something.
gotcha,
But I think
gotcha.
it was. I think they were officially canceled after the third had been written. So he didn't want to rewrite. He just wrote the rest. So that. But anyway, there's characters that came in, and then all of a sudden, in like 2 episodes later, they just leave. Like instead of actually doing what they were going to do, they were going to be a whole subplot. They just like, let's piss off. And then like there's a whole bunch of things. And so when you watch like the end episodes of Rome, so many things happen that it's just like, oh my god, this is getting wrapped up so quick. It still is to me one of the best shows ever made. And it's interesting that The Expanse is going through the same thing. It's like The Expanse. I felt like that plot line was kind of rushed. I would have seen
Mm.
that grow and evolve and kind of mature over, I guess, a full season rather than just that episode. But I still liked it. And coming back to Drummer, I think Drummer is one of the most interesting Belter characters that we had. And I'm so glad that she actually lived because I was half expecting them to kill her at some point.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't get that same feeling, although they did. Jill's absolutely right. They had to squish like probably 2 seasons worth of stuff into one season. So I'm not saying that's not evident there. There is probably a little bit of that. But what I appreciated about the way they did it in The Expanse was that it is their most desperate hours for. It's the most desperate hour for both Earth and
Mm.
like this faction of the belt, like and so for that other half of the belt, if you will. So there was really no choice. It was like the team up that had to happen, and I like that Drummer was just like it. Basically they were just like, we're just coordinating. After this, who knows, like, what I mean, like,
Well, one
you're
of the
still I still don't trust you. I'm not taking your
yeah,
orders, like,
let's just
it's
deal with this thing now, and then we'll see, right?
yeah, like Drummer was good enough to see that. And one thing I loved about Drummer, and I wish that we had seen more of this, because she kind of did, like, she was all like, she started off as a supporting character to Fred, Fred, what's his name? Fred, well, you know who I'm talking about, the guy who
Dawes,
no,
Johnson,
you're thinking of Anderson Dawes, who's also a great character, but Fred
Johnston.
Johnson. Thank you. Yeah, Fred Johnson. She
I'm
starts
getting
off
my
as
names
like,
confused.
she starts off as like Fred Johnson's like kind of right hand person or whatever. And we don't see that much of her. What I loved is in the season when her family decides to stay behind on Sirius Station because the one guy's arm, which was so gross by the way, but like because his arm was
Very interesting.
it was super interesting and very cool
I like
medical,
that.
like medical technology. I mean, like it is like pretty
My
awesome.
koi would
That
have been
yeah,
so
like,
so mad.
yeah, yeah. But I love that they introduced like an element of like how it could go wrong. Like if the gel's not good, it's like
Yes.
creating this like awful limb, and it's like little, and it's like ugh, it's gross.
Well, you
It's
can
like
imagine the poor people.
T
Like
Rex
you can
hands. Like
you can imagine the space hopper, like the Belters, right? The space
yeah,
hoppers that go out there. They're like I don't know, they're gathering ice or whatever it is that they're doing, and they lose a limb for some shit, and they manage to get back to
which
the
we've seen.
station.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But they have to go to this like underground crappy ass place to get their thing fixed because they're Belters, right? So
Right.
they have the class like this struggle. Imagine like they got this shit ass limb grown back, and it's in constant pain. It's like fucking just leave
Poor
it. Don't
guy.
even grow anything back. Leave it alone.
Poor guy, he's like, how much does it hurt? And he's like 4, and he's like, I need you to tell the truth. He's like, okay, it's an 8. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like that's like
How much does it hurt?
like
It's like a goddamn 18, yo.
but in the scene where she has to leave them behind, where they decide to stay behind, where the other character who was kind of a goof up, who messed up earlier in the season, with
Oh,
the
the young girl
mission,
then?
right, the young girl, um, when she leaves them behind, I love that line that she stops for a moment and she says to them, "I love you not because you're warriors, but because you were builders, and I really wanted to
Mhm.
build something with you." And that's the difference between her and Marco Inaro.
Yeah,
She
that's the
doesn't
one single difference between
no, like,
her
but you know what I'm saying? Like that's like the difference that like is gonna make her a much better leader, and like like she sees she wants to build. She doesn't want to destroy. Marcos
Yeah.
Inaros just wants to destroy. Like you could see, he had no mercy for Earth. I mean, he was just
Well, the
still,
difference is
yeah,
Drummer wants a better future for the belt, but she's focusing on like how they could build that better future. Whereas Inaros just wants to, I guess, liberate the belt from the inner oppression. And so all he can see, he's like blinded by the rage and the vengeance and the destruction of what the inner was, like who the inners are, right? That's, I guess, those are the fundamental differences between them both.
yeah,
And I guess Fred Johnson was kind of like he was more of a builder kind of guy, I
yeah.
guess.
But he was still an
He had a lot
outside.
of blood of his
He,
hands too.
yeah, and remember he was an yeah, and what he did was
Yeah, he
pretty
wasn't.
terrible. Yeah,
He
yeah.
wasn't built though, was he?
Yeah, just like he was kind of like Holden. He was like an outsider. You know, he was an earther. I think he was an earther, if I'm not mistaken, Fred Johnson, and that he had like decided to like, you know, run. He was running. What was the name of the station before they
Medina.
launched? What's no Medina's the final station, but the original
It was
station
the
that,
Mormon shit, wasn't it?
yeah, that's what the Medina became. I mean,
I
what
forget
the
what it's
Medina
called.
was, that
Jill,
was
Jill intervene and tell
Jill.
us all.
Yeah.
God damn it, you people!
So Fred was from Earth, in fact, says Jill. But anyways, the point is that, yeah, like I think Kamina Drummer, you know, like you could see that she was influenced by that building, the idea of building that Fred Johnson did have, because he did have kind of like that idea for the, you know, he wanted to make amends for his past, but he also wanted to, he I think he genuinely believed in the belt, and you
Mm.
know, and like, so yeah, so I think Kamina Drummer is a phenomenal character. I really appreciate that she had such a prominent place in the ending. It was such a bummer. It's so good. We can't end this stream without talking about the battles. First of all, I don't know how
Yeah, no, I
far,
agree.
far we are.
I have a general thing I wanted to
Oh,
say
good.
about the
Okay.
season before we get to that. I just wanted to say that I've seen expressed online a lot of people in regards to like last season that the show it felt like the show was taking a bit of a step back, and I kind of understand where they were coming from in the sense that we were really like the show was really opening itself up to huge concepts and like a huge kind of scary future with
Hmm.
the rings and like all of these alien worlds, and then in season five we go back to the conflict between the inners and the belters, and it feels like a step back in a way when you're watching. Although I very much enjoyed, like the season was much more personal, I think, and it took the time to develop characters that we'd seen, and it had some of the best Naomi moments. It was like a Naomi
Yeah, when she
season.
steps on the planet for the first time, for
Goddamn.
example. Yeah, it's
No, no,
really
no.
good
That's
stuff.
that's season four. I'm
Yeah.
talking
Oh,
about
that's what I was talking about. Sorry, season four.
no,
But
I'm
yeah,
talking about
season
season
five.
five is where she has like the spacewalk
Oh
and the
yeah, forget it. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, that tops everything about walk. Yeah, yeah. No,
but
sorry.
even
You're
like even
absolutely
her
right. Yeah,
relationship with her son and her trying to like
just everything aboard the
everything is so
Pella. Yeah,
personal and so like
yeah.
and it's very performance driven. Like I think it's a very powerful season, even if it's not quite as conceptually I think creative maybe or bold. This sixth season managed to balance that very, very well. It's like it almost, and it's not just the little B plot kind of segments that we got. It's the whole season was addressing constantly and talking about the importance of the rings and like simultaneously the importance of eliminating Mako Inoros. There's a moment where Avasarala, I think it's Avasarala, says like we imagine if this guy wins and he manages to like flee and leave and he manages to stay alive and control the rings, like this person will now be basically in control of the
For a whole
course of
generation.
humanity
Yeah, for like 100.
for 100 years possibly,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like a terrifying thought, and that made the whole belter and inner situation feel as important as it really should have. So in that respect, in that regard, I feel like this season did a better job, and it was perfectly balanced. So
Plus,
that's my compliment
plus
to the season.
you really felt the weight of what happened last season and this season. Like the payoff with Philip is so good because of like Naomi's, her scenes were so power, like the stuff she was doing last season where she was trying to save him was so powerful, in terms of like her words, just like I mean, like, ultimately he listens to her. I mean, she says to him, sometimes the only choice you have is to walk away or to walk out, you know.
He's so
And
conflicted, right? Like this,
right.
the son there.
Yeah, yeah, and but he does it. He finally listens to his mom, and he, you know, as one should. Although dads are cool too, don't get me wrong.
Well, not if they're a terrorist.
Not if they're a
If your father's a
terrorist. Yeah,
terrorist,
it's true. It's
you
true.
don't have to follow his
You don't have
advice.
to follow his advice. It's true. Jill saying, "I was morally outraged that Dominique Tipper got no nomination." Yeah, that's terrible. She
Well,
was
generally
so
speaking, the
good.
show
Yeah,
is just slipped on, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's a
Justice
couple
for the
people that have
Expanse.
blog, a couple of people that blog about it, and they're like, "This show is the best thing that's ever been." But then, other, like the general public are just like, "What? Isn't that the? I don't
I
know."
I know a lot more people know it, but you're absolutely right. It always surprises me because, of course, I'm, you know, like,
I'm
super
shocked and
into
appalled every time I hear
every
someone
time.
that like I started it, but I couldn't get through. I'm like, "What the hell is
Yeah,
the
there's a
problem?"
lot of stories like that. There's a lot of stories like that, and I stopped doing the thing where I'm like, if you just make it to this episode or that
Yeah.
episode, because like I can't, like,
Well, the
that's
fourth
it's
season is very bleak,
well,
admittedly.
yeah, yeah, and it's hyping it. You know, like, whenever you overhype something, it never it never lands correctly. But I'm telling you guys,
Look, it's a
this show
treasure.
is really good.
The Expanse is a treasure that if
It
you're
is.
lucky
It's
enough to
true.
stumble upon it and watch it on your own, you don't need anyone encouraging you, you will be very grateful.
I think
And it's like,
so.
it's kind of like, look, I see this, people that hate on Star Trek to me, or like people that hate on like the animated series, Star Trek the animated series, to me, it's just like, you haven't seen it. You know what I mean? It's like, you haven't watched it. And I'm not going to tell you to go and watch it, but it's like the day you will watch it, you'll understand. You know what I mean? And The Expanse is the same thing. I'm not going to go and tell you to watch it, but like, if you watch it, you'll get it. You'll come around. But then,
I
of course,
agree.
like it doesn't suit. Like not every show can suit everyone. Of course, you wanted to address the space battles, sir. You wanted to address them. They weren't
So
as clear to read as previous battles have been.
they're very complicated, but I'll tell you what, on this rewatching today, like, I intentionally, like, put everything away and just, like, was like, oh, I'm gonna focus, because, like, I in my initial impression, and I think I may have said this on on another stream, was like, I don't know if I was as
I'm
impressed
going
with
to
the bat.
interrupt you 1 second. Just I need to do this. Alexa 409. Too bad we're not getting the last three books, which are amazing. I just want to say I don't want any spoilers from the books.
Oh yeah, don't give us spoilers in
No
the
spoilers
thing,
from the books, please.
but.
Although we are free to spoil the whole show as it
Yeah,
stands.
we're only focused
That's
on
the
the show.
logic. We're
I am
very
gonna start reading the books though, so I'll know soon enough.
selfish, I guess. But
Alexa, no, it's cool. But I will say that, Alexa, I don't think this is the end. I think that there's gonna be a feature film or like a film, and I mean that's my speculation. As Toddy said earlier, we don't know for sure, but I really think that,
I
like,
read it. I read it somewhere that there was going to be a film and a spin-off show, and I can't for the life of me find it anymore. So I
there's
feel like
certain
I've been spreading rumors. I've been
They,
lying.
it's a good rumor to spread. There's like, we want more expanse. If it turns into like a movement, that'll be even better. But I think that the expanse will continue in some way, Alexa. But
It's too powerful a show, I think. No, but I mean, it's gained such a cultural, like such a it's a cult classic, I guess. It's got such a following that it's inevitable that it eventually like Firefly eventually got its film, right?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's the
it's
same,
true.
like
That's
same
true.
thing.
Good
Like The
point.
Expanse
Yeah.
will eventually get something.
Serenity. Alexa says the producer shot down those rumors. I can't trust producers ever since J.J. Abrams lied to everyone about, what was it, Star Trek?
Khan.
Khan, yeah, yeah,
He's
like,
like, no,
with
it's not
no,
Khan.
yeah, yeah, like with no,
Fuck you.
yeah, you can't trust producers. They could be lying. Jill said it also in
They
the
could be
audience,
lying.
and yeah, they certainly did spend a lot of time setting up
Everyone lies. Andrew Garfield lies.
yeah, he
Everyone
did.
lies.
Everyone lies. Yeah, it's like, you have to forgive them, because if they didn't lie, you'd be spoiled. So like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like a
their job
necessary.
at this
It's
point.
their
Part of the
job.
job,
Yeah,
I mean, acting is lying, but
it's true.
writing is lying, right?
From a
So
certain
lies.
point, of view, but they spent a lot of time setting up the Laconia Duarte stuff for a reason. Yeah, I agree. I think that we're definitely going to continue in this universe, but because there's such a big timestamp, I mean, a time jump, I guess, is what I heard. That's the one thing that I do know, that between Babylon's Ashes and Persepolis Rising, there's like a 25-year time jump. They can take their time a little bit and like relax and like go on the Comic-Con scene and let more people discover the Expanse, because like now that it's like a complete series, I think a lot of people are gonna like probably check it out to see what all the
Yes,
the
because
hubbub
it
is
can get
about.
intimidating. Like a show that's ongoing and that's almost like that's at 6, 7 seasons. You're like, when's it gonna end? Do I have time to invest so long? But now that you know that it's a fixed 6 seasons, you're like, okay, well, I
And
can do that.
fat and they go by fast, like especially that last season.
Yeah, they
Like I
have
mean,
no
like
consistency in like episode numbers.
like time, you mean, right? Like the time it takes. But
No, but the time, but also the episode count is
gotcha,
ridiculous.
gotcha. Like you mean
10,
one season?
13, 13, 10, 10, 6. Like what the fuck?
That's the modern TV. But going back to the battles, I was very impressed. The battle between the Pella and the Rossi was so good. Like was that episode 3, I think, right?
Joe, though,
Like
no, let's just wait. We're not gonna have these people kill themselves early just to just to get the show quicker. The cast need to stay out on the sun more to age faster.
can you
I
imagine?
love the concept though.
Could you imagine, like, you see, like, in a year, you see Steven Straight's face is wrinkled AF, and they're like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I've just been hanging out in the sun to
They've
create,
just been
to
putting him in the
create,
goddamn
to
Mojave
create.
Desert trying to
I've been
kill
like
him.
aging myself." like, uh,
Goddamn.
by the way, a lot of people were worried about Steven Strait this season, and because I think I read this somewhere. I don't remember where,
I
but
was too. I didn't
you were
look it
too,
up
yeah.
because I was too scared.
Scared to look it up. Yeah, like people were scared that he was diminishing
Well,
right before our
there was
eyes.
the guy that I think the main hero from like the main character from like Spartacus died after a couple seasons there because he was ill. Like I've
Oh,
never
you're
seen
right. Yeah,
Spartacus,
you're
but from
right.
what I understand, like everyone was like super buff, but he was like ripped, but he was kind of thin, kind of skinny, and this is because he had an illness. And I was like, I was too afraid. I was like, no, 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 I can't. Like, I'm gonna look this up after. I'm not gonna look it up now. Like, I
Yeah.
hope it's just for the role, and it was.
But going back to the battles for a second, yeah, hopefully Steven Straight's all right. Maybe he'll come out and tell everyone about his method for this, but it works because he looks worn out.
He was just eating like dehydrated lasagna or whatever.
It's true, whatever it was, red food or red whatever
Yeah,
they were calling it.
you wanted to get in characters, just eating the red shit from the.
The red shit, right? But he looks worn out, and like it does look like the it's taking his toll on him, which it's very effective. But going back to that battle for a second, one of the best things about it was like just the like that moment when Bobby comes up to the front, right, and she's like give me the guns or whatever, give me control of the guns, and she nails it. She knows, she's like, the last two turns, the last two evasive maneuvers were always to the port side.
Mm,
So she's like, to me that was Star Trek level like action, because you have like this cool reasoning and like
yes,
like stuff going on in the midst of this like intense battle, and like the victory, like
it's
when
the
with
submarine movies, right?
it's like
But with
submarine movies,
with
yeah.
more, it was a bit more dynamic though.
Yeah, it's more like what the Expanse does really well is other
It's
than,
Top Gun
and
in space.
well, not just Top Gun, because the Rocinante and the bigger ships are like naval vessels, right? So it has both scale, it has
Oh
both
my
scales, but
god,
more.
when he sheds the fucking frigate in the final, oh my god, sorry.
Yeah, it's like yeah, you're like, but yeah, and then so like I realized like that battle was actually really genius, and that alone was like an awesome battle this season. But we got that, and then we got the final battle. Also, just like the maneuver Drummer does to get like that spinning, you know, crazy thing of supplies that Marcos had, like, stolen from series or whatever, like
That
that
was
he'd
really
take.
cool.
Yeah, that was a really great sequence of like, just like, again, like all the space stuff, even though you hear the bullets and all that stuff, all the space stuff just feels like they're really paying attention. And Father had mentioned that he couldn't tell if sometimes the liquid, like these things, like gravity has its effects. Granted, in season one, you get the most realistic, like people's hair were even, like remember the beginning of season 1,
Yeah.
her hair was even. You just can't, production wise, you just can't do that every time, so that's why people tie their hair up or have short, haircuts and stuff like that. But there's a moment in this season, and I'm sure it happens throughout the show, but like you actually see Naomi is looking at like the red sparkle data on the ring at one point, and her cup is just floating, and you hear a thrust. Like you just hear the Rossi going into thrust, and then she just reaches her hand out and it falls into her hand. Like that's how life would be when you've gotten used to it. Like that
And
it
have you seen those interviews with like the astronauts that just like dude's dropping his cup
yeah,
and he's
yeah, he's
like,
just like lets it go there, like or whatever, and like yeah, it's true. It's very so yeah. You could tell that they like really paid so much attention to these things that they're just and like they're aware of it, like even
there's a
up
more
until the ending,
visceral feel. I'm sorry. Jill says she finds the railguns a million times more exciting than phasers and photon
because
torpedoes.
it has to warm up and you have to do that spin. Like you
It
have
has
to,
a
yeah,
visceral thing to it, but also
yeah, it's
the thing
true.
is a phaser or it hits your shield, right? But it
Right,
just hits your shield.
right,
Okay, so
right.
granted, Discovery takes some creative liberties and blows the friggin' like it blows fire into your hull for some reason, even though the shields are still at 56%. But uh, those railguns they go through your hull
Yeah,
and through your
it's insane.
brain. They blow you up.
It's insane. Yeah,
It's
no,
terrifying. So
well
yeah,
those massive ones on
oh
at the
my
end
god, like
were
Drummer, the fucking hole
oh
that's in a ship.
yeah, well no the I'm talking about the massive railguns on the
Oh
that
yeah,
they put
okay,
on
that
the
they
yeah,
managed.
those
How
were
did they
even
manage to attach that?
well because they explained it in the episode where they say that like the whole structure is self-supporting. It's
Yeah,
just the kickback from the railgun keeps everything like basically like intact or whatever. I don't know,
it's
but
huge. Like, how many resources did he have
and
to pillage
it
and plunder to get
well,
that?
that's Laconian technology, so that's like all influenced by that's Duarte
Mm.
over there sending that over, and stuff like that. But interestingly enough, also that
That's
scene,
fun.
yeah, that scene's spectacular. And the first time I watched it, I was overwhelmed because I was crying and like I was very
Oh
emotional and
wow,
like
that
yeah,
much.
no, I was like so it was such an insane. I mean, what Bobby does at the end, like when she just like goes for it, I thought that was like I thought she was gonna get like toasted
That
or
was a bit okay.
like it was like
Look,
crazy. I was
I
like.
got nothing necessarily against it, but that was a bit movie,
It
like
was though. It was
it
like
was
that's
a
what it
bit.
needed to be. Like it was like super movie. It's true.
That wasn't the most realistic thing the show has done, right?
But still, it was a ambitious like to go out on that
It is a
like
very Bobby move, though.
yeah, and just in general the whole setting and the scene and like that battle. I think you can say it's probably the top 10 of the Expanse battles, and like maybe even as far as like sci-fi battles go, it might be even like up there in the top 20 or something like that of
Well,
all
when I
like
was
sci-fi
watching it,
space
I was
battles.
like, I don't. So Deep Space Nine popped into my mind as I was watching it, and so I don't know if this is like, I don't know if I'm thinking because I didn't specifically think, oh, this is better than Deep Space Nine, or I didn't think this is as good as Deep Space Nine. I was just thinking, oh, like it reminded me of like the epicness. You know what I mean? That like you get with these Deep Space Nine Dominion War battles.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot less ships, of course, in the Expanse, and I felt like the combats weren't as easy to read, like especially the final one. But that's because there was so much happening, and like there was so much
Well, yeah.
happening, but also like the part of space where they were with the rings and everything, it wasn't as I guess visible or as like easy to read as just
It's yeah,
where they are usually.
it's because you don't have a reference point with stars and stuff like that,
I was
and
never excited about a space battle until the Expanses, Jill. I mean, I've always liked my space battles. To be fair, I'm not quite. But yes, they're very unique. Like the space battles in Star Wars have a very specific vibe, and they are that way. And there are a lot of copycats. There's a lot of things that have copied Star Wars over the years, right? The space battles that we had in like the Expanse, I don't think anything's ever been like that
the
so far.
closest you haven't seen the show, but truly the closest is Battlestar Galactica. Like the
Okay,
last time I saw like this style was Battlestar Galactica. In many ways, The Expanse takes it to
Well, I guess they have modern technology and they can really do the spins and the VFX are probably
right.
better because time
Well,
is
yeah,
moving forward.
and and like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree that, like, I mean, but it's been many years or whatever. But yeah, BSG did this kind of style where, like, you would see bullets like rain upon, like they still use bullets like projectiles, and so I don't know what my lights are doing. They're just changing color randomly. I apologize. It
It doesn't
happens.
matter.
It happens on this, but yeah, that last battle is so good
You've got
because
you've got a, you've got a buy flag vibe going on.
oh yeah, I do. Very nice. I'm an ally of the bi community, so that's very cool. But the battle at the end is really good because it did feel like high stakes as far as that's concerned, but also like just the moments were really good. Like I really wondered if Drummer was gonna get the kill on the Pella. I didn't know, with the Expanse. That's the cool thing
It's
is
very
that you
exciting.
yeah, you never. I can say that with the Expanse, like I feel like the show did a good job of like not giving us like the obvious thing, even though that is what we got with Naomi pushing the button at the end. But still, like I really thought Drummer was gonna get the kill on the Pella. That would have been satisfying, but it was also equally satisfying the way it
Can,
happened and
can
stuff like that.
can we talk about the visuals of like the Mako death?
Yes,
Oh my god. Like I haven't seen striking visuals like that since basically Burnham going through the wormhole or going through that, like that was amazing.
that
It
like
it, it, it
that
almost
weird like the creature, the ring
yeah,
entities like eating
you
him
know what
up
it
and like
reminded me
tearing him
of?
apart. Yeah,
It reminded me of the way um uh, it's I think it's is it in the Hobbit or is it in Lord of the Rings? I think it's in the Lord of the Rings. No, I think it's in the Hobbit, where like the eye of Sauron becomes like the tower, and the tower becomes the eye, and they have this whole thing. Do you remember that? I'll have to try and find the scene for you and send it to you later on. But there's a whole
oh, and it's like going,
sequence.
yeah, like
Yeah, and it goes like tower eye, tower eye, tower
yeah, yeah,
eye,
yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah.
whole deal is like it takes you away and out of, it takes you almost out of the film, but it's done on purpose because it's like it's completely redefining like the concept of what reality is, and it's messing with your mind, and like Marco's kind of, because it's not a death, it's not a disintegration, it's more of like it just he's consumed by vanishing basically. It's very bizarre, but I
Now,
really loved it.
now, I again haven't read the book, so Alex might know more about what's happening. You don't have to give spoilers, but you can maybe hint as to whether
Oh, hence the
we
dangerous territory.
yeah, the hints are dangerous. So don't give us spoilers, Alex, if you're still there. But it's interesting because the ring entities, like they Jill points out, they did the same thing to the, we've seen that effect but not quite like this. What was powerful, I think, about this version of it is that like it's satisfying because, you know without pausing on the villain or slow-moing it, you got the same effect of like the villain realizing that they were done, like
Yes,
that they were defeated. Do you know
yes.
what I mean? Like,
Okay, so they managed to do something which is very interesting. Usually, I don't like big deals made about deaths. Like I
yeah,
like
yeah,
characters.
yeah.
I like blunt deaths in shows, and this is not because I want people to die in horror. It's just because I think it more accurately represents how people die in real
Yeah, but
life.
like, like
If you get hit by a car, it's not going to be a whole
right.
thing where there's like flashback sequence and you like no, people are going to get a phone call and you're gone already. You know what I mean? So it's traumatizing. And so that's how I prefer my deaths to be in shows. I feel like it depicts reality better. And so they did that, but they managed to do that while still staying on him and showing us that, they made a thing about him being like, this is it. Mako is dying now. He's gone. I hope he hasn't vanished to some sort of other dimension. He's gone to meet Red Skull. No, he's dead.
Let's see. It was the same effect when Mars trade. Oh, so this time he knew something was wrong compared to the end of season 5. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like he knew that he was defeated. Like it was cool. Also, he's like veer off. Like those are his last words. I find Marco's. What do you think of Marco? as a character in general? Like, what? How do you feel about him when you rank him with like villains like Khan, maybe, or like the great villains of other sci-fi shows?
I've never thought of comparing him to them, to be honest. Like he's never come up like that. I guess he is a villain, kind of in that sense. Like in the because he was throwing rocks at Earth for like months or years there.
Well, Earth was. By the way, that's
They changed the opening sequence because of him. They, they made the wheat fields die.
It's true.
Um,
The opening sequence. By the way, that was a nice little touch. Before you going back to that question for a second, but before you go back, that was a nice little touch bringing back that character Prax. Just for that like
Prax, who's
scene.
Prax?
The Asian guy who Amos was helping 2 seasons ago. Remember
Oh
his
yes,
family, right?
yes, yes,
Like
yes.
so
No,
he.
I thought he would stay on the crew. Actually, I thought he would be.
Yeah, but no, he actually ends up. It's nice to hear that he ends up having a family, but that also that he brought the solution to. Was it in the opening episode when Avasarala is looking at that field of like where they used to have grow high yield corn or whatever, high yield
Mm,
produce or
mm.
whatever, and it was totally that's another cool thing about it is that like Earth is really suffering. I mean, like, there's damage that's going to take a long time to fix. So, like, for once, Earth is like the most like in a way, the tables have completely turned on
You
Earth.
think the
Like,
belt has control now?
well, the belt, Earth certainly is going to need help for like 20, 30, a lot of years. I mean, like, they showed that montage of all the different cities that had been impacted. Like, did you see how many impact points were all over the
Yes,
Earth? And like,
insane.
yeah, it is insane.
What
Like,
the fuck are you doing, man?
it's the equivalent to
What's his
probably
idea though? Like, if you destroy Earth and it becomes uninhabitable, I know that Belters can't go there, but like, the human civilization cannot continue if they can only live on the belt.
that's
You've
the
doomed the
that's the
race, right?
that's the
The
thing that
species.
Holden says at the end that I think not Holden, sorry, Drummer says at the end in like the second to last episode when Avasarala is talking to her. She says like it's over 100 years or whatever of oppression have created a Marco and Aros. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Like it wouldn't have if it wasn't like the amount of anger and just hatred. That's how like that person got in charge basically. Like that guy's the one that
Yeah.
like
Well, he bullied his way
has
to the top, kind of, I
yeah,
guess. But
yeah, well, yeah, like he fought his way to that, and now that person, the person who hates you the most, is the person in charge and has like his hand on the button of all these like
oh yeah,
asteroids and stuff like
Marco
that.
was losing his mojo near the end. His speeches felt empty, and he
Yeah,
even had to start his own chant.
that's right.
I didn't like the moment where he goes Belter.
Belta,
I was like,
Belta.
yo, that's so lame. Why did you do that? And maybe yeah, like at first I thought it was I thought the show wanted him to be cool, but maybe you're right. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be cool in that moment.
No, he
Maybe it was to
wasn't.
show you
Yeah.
that he wasn't cool anymore. He had lost because a lot of people were kind of like hesitant and wondering why they were doing all this.
Well, yeah, and especially after losing, that like
I think
the
this crazy kind of cause, you have to execute it quickly. Because while people are in some sort of like frenzy or they're completely crazy or they're
exactly
completely
a
like
heat,
they're
the heat, the
following you,
passion. Yeah,
yeah,
like the yeah.
you have to have them do what they're going to do quick. Because you can't drag them on for years. They'll start to reflect on what they're doing and eventually wake up, I guess, from like the almost brainwash that you've done.
And
He
Holden
dragged it on for too long.
and Holden backs up Drummer at the end when he says, even though he was evil and he was cruel, which is totally true about Marco. I feel like I'm on the Rossi right now. This is the lighting when they're like, this is like my Rossi lighting right now. But anyways, he says uh, he represented something that a lot of people were feeling, and that's why they were following him. And like, I think that's the thing is like, I think that's the thing is like we do such a bad job. Oh, that's another beautiful lines in this series. Another thing Avasarala says, like the human tragedy is too little, too late, always. Like right, like so
Yeah.
that's like that.
About the writing, come on.
The writing, yeah, the writing's so good in this show. But like that's the thing is that like we let it get to the point where it created a Marco and Aros, and that's like the cycle you have to break, is like these little injustices over a long period of time, like these little things like Kamina saying like we've never had we've always been outvoted. You always say we have a vote, but there's always two of you that are in league, and you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
so it's like
Your
it's
belt
like
is
a fake.
small.
Yeah, it's like it's a fake gesture. And it's like Scotland's parliament, you know, like not to like to hear me
Ooh.
like not to be, but you know what I mean, like Scotland
Ooh.
should be independent by now. Like it should be. There's no reason, that's what everyone wants. That's what the majority of people want, and like yet Britain's like, oh no, well you've got your parliament, like like it's like, no, okay, no, we don't want just a toy parliament. We want like a real
Toy
thing.
parliament.
Like it's like, so in a sense that
This ain't no monopoly, my
Scottish
friend.
friends, sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, but
You don't know anything
like,
about the
I don't know
situation.
anything about the situation.
What do
It's
you
true.
know?
I don't know. But but I guess
I'm
going back to the
99.9% Scottish, and I don't even know.
are you really that much Scottish?
I
Like
think
your
I am.
heritage?
Somewhat that
Wow.
look, I'll go check it up just to not say
Just-
bullshit, but it's really fucking
it's
close.
like a lot. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. You're a man of the world. You're a true earther, Sean. You're like a true future human. There's a little bit of everything in you.
Yeah, I ain't no
But
belter though.
yeah, so that
Don't
was
get it
like
twisted.
that was like what was interesting
It's my
about
DNA.
about Marco and Aros and extremism in general. I think the
No, I'm
show,
sorry. It's 60% Scotland,
that's a lot. That's a lot of
and then the
percentage.
rest is 34% England,
I did my DNA test,
and
which
then the remaining six is Wales. So like they didn't even detect that my mother's French. They're like, fuck that.
they're like, there's no,
They're like, it's just all the United Kingdom. That's
that's
it.
interesting. Well, there's a lot of that's a lot there's a lot of history there. But anyways, the I did my genetic tests, and like I regret doing it because now I'm afraid they're gonna clone me like Tom Cruise in the future and use
No, no.
me
Look,
like
we
the
can only benefit from clones of you.
I don't know. I don't know. It all depends how that clone is nurtured. But anyways, I might not be
Are
as
you scared? Are you scared it'll be a Shinzon?
it might be a Shinzon. I might have to go kill it. But anyways, the genetic test, I was expecting it to be a little bit more diverse. 99% South Asian,
Ooh.
Indian, like 99.9
99.
99%. And
You're
then
the real deal.
and then my 1% is comprised of English, French, and Ashkenazi.
Okay, they just threw a bunch of things in there because they didn't know. They're like, whatever, just give them something.
Let's just give him something.
Like
Well,
this,
no, we know of our British heritage, but
ooh,
it is a newer addition to.
oh, he's
It's
so
only in
proud. He's in line for the throne somehow.
no, no, no. But this is not about me or my
No,
genetics.
and I'm afraid we're going to have to end it
Oh,
on this bizarre note.
oh, okay.
No,
What
no,
on the
no.
genetic note?
Go back to your final point about the expanse or something if you have one.
Yeah,
Actually, no, let's pull up something.
Oh, okay.
Carry on, carry on.
I just want to say that it's been a really spectacular ride these last few. Ooh, yeah, that's right. We have to do this. That's right. I wonder if for once we'll agree. That's gonna be interesting. We have, I think, before,
Oh,
but we'll
come
see.
on,
Okay.
come on.
I'll just say that like these 6 seasons have just been like such a joy. I felt like the Expanse was. I originally started watching it as like Battlestar Galactica therapy because I saw glimpses of the Expanse and I was like, oh, that reminds me of like the space battles remind me a little bit of BSG, and like I felt like the story might do. Oh, you're like playing around with the new controls.
You're
Like,
gone.
so distracting. Such look at me. I'm like, you are the captain on this ship, so like it's, it's like Starfleet with
This is my guest.
I
This little
guess
thing over here.
tiny dancer over here. But anyways, yeah, so I was just really impressed. I think that the whole final season is extremely rewarding. Rewatching it, I just felt, like it had a lot of like great payoffs and just moments, and I do enjoy that. Like it's hard to end a series definitively. Like every
Yeah.
time I've seen a show do that, it tends to like disappoint in some ways. So in a way, The Expanse I think took the right approach by just finishing a major, like the major story in terms of like, you know, between the inners and the belters, the major conflict, and like putting that aside and, you know, ending with this like hopeful optimistic future. Perhaps, you know, we know it's not going to be easy,
Mm.
and then setting up a lot of little mysteries that don't affect anything, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not bothering me that I don't know about the Laconian Empire or what
Yeah.
happens to Zan or anything like that. It's not like, you know, like, you know, killing me not to know, even though I'm going to read the books and I will find out, you know, like, but that's the point, is it like leaves you with enough interest but not like sadness that it's not going to, you know, continue. And again, I do think the show will continue. I do hope and think that there will be a film, perhaps a couple films maybe, or short, you know, like short, like, you know, maybe mini series coming up or something like that,
Well,
and maybe a spin-off in the works.
what's interesting is I haven't fully registered that it's the end yet. Like when this season ended, to me, it's just like I don't believe that it's the end of the Expanse. Like there's no percent of my mind that understands or like accepts that this is the end of the Expanse. Like to me, it's going to continue in some way, shape, or form. But for all intents and purposes, the Expanse, this show, like this, the Expanse show, even if they do carry it on in some other way, like the universe, this show is ended. And if I, this is like a very, very good final season. And it is probably one of the best season finales. Like if we were to talk about the final episode that I have ever seen for any show.
Yeah.
So I think they did a very, very good job. And like, just to go over the technical aspects, we haven't talked about it at all, but because like we don't really need to at this point. But all of the performances are wonderful. It's very well directed. The visual effects are stunning. The cinematography is outstanding. The attention to detail in like the real science and the attention to detail in like in the performances is amazing. Like everything is just of the highest quality. And I congratulate every single person that worked on this. They did a very good job.
Same here. Here. Cheers
Indeed.
to that. So say we all, as they said in Battlestar
So say we
Galactica.
all what? True greatness?
True greatness. Sorry, it's gonna be a true greatness.
It has to be, right?
It has to be. It's
And
a
we're not
true
talking about the
greatness.
show entirely. We're talking about season six.
Season
Although, I
6.
mean, it's not far off the
It's not
goddamn
far. I would
show.
say that the
I
whole show
could
can get a
probably,
great.
I
The whole show can easily get a great.
easily.
Easily get a great. Yeah. So yeah.
But this season is definitely true greatness for me. It pulled off a lot in just its sixth season. It's just its 6 episodes, and like that final episode is long, but it feels like it's like
It
10 minutes. Like, am I already what? Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Just is 10 out of 10. Technically, True Greatness is like an 11 out of 11. Then
Yeah, because it's an 11-point scale. So zero, you added a zero, which
I added a
I think
zero. The
it's a
absolute
nice.
bullshit. Just like a zero. Fuck you.
So I love that. Yeah, this is as far from absolute bullshit as you can possibly get.
Congratulations for making this wonderful show. I had so many great moments watching it. Like just, and it's one of those shows that I would, you would sit down. I wouldn't at first. I would rush to see it, but then it grew to the point where like I can no longer rush to see it. I have a child and responsibilities, so it's more like I'm gonna find the perfect moment where I won't be interrupted. I'll be able to sit down and really just watch it and appreciate it. So 11 out of 10 now. Just giving it those points. You give it a Picard out of Star Trek. Is that what you give it?
This gets a Picard out of Star Trek.
Blue says this discussion was great. You guys have a great rapport.
Aw,
Yes,
thanks, Blue.
we have the most chemistry, I think.
I think we have a lot of chemistry. It's true. We have a great chemistry. I can't wait to meet you in person. It's gonna, fingers crossed, if all the things
if
start
Canada lets me leave. At this
yeah,
point,
yeah.
because
Fingers
now it's
crossed.
the whole thing. I
Yeah.
received something. Oh, I can't show you. I received something for like a cosplay, but I'm too fat.
We'll see. We'll talk offline. You look fit. I don't know.
No,
the camera is a little,
No,
whatever.
I think it's because I went for a bit of a cheaper option, and I think that I shouldn't have because ultimately it's not a beautiful cut. Like the way it's been put together isn't flawless. Anyway,
Oh,
you're
can't wait to
typing
see.
typing away now.
Oh, he's just
You've
answering a
left
text.
the chat
We have
entirely.
We have someone in our text message. Someone's watching on TV and they text me little things, and they were just saying that
Who is this?
it's a friend. Oh, I don't want to give them away on
Oh,
the air,
okay,
but
that's
it's
fine.
just a good friend of mine that I've known since like it's not
Hello,
Ruben. He
hello,
would say
friend.
hi in the chat, but it's a good
Hello,
friend
friend.
that
Well,
I.
thank you so much for joining me and talking about The Expanse.
Thank you for
It
having
was a
me.
great
Super
joy.
fun.
Thank you. I'm sorry if anyone felt left out because I invited only you, but sometimes it feels good to just do the us thing. We haven't done this in a while. And since I don't have time to go on Starfleet Boy and talk about Star Trek or something at the moment, I thought we could do this. This was
This
our
is
way.
very nice. I appreciate it. I've been dying to get some more thoughts about the Expanse out. I got, some half-assed thoughts out on on Starfleet Boy After Dark when I'm drunk, but
No, but
but this,
I feel like we dived into a lot of things
yeah,
there.
we dived into a
Of
lot. Yeah.
course, we could make a list of things we haven't talked about and then talk about them again. Like we could do a second one because it never
I'm
ends.
I'm sure we're gonna be talking more about the Expanse throughout our
We'll
time.
find
Yeah,
reasons to
we'll
talk about
find
the
reasons.
expense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. But this was very delightful to be on and get some of those thoughts out. Jill says we miss you in the TOS chats, Toddy. Yeah, he's got a lot.
I got so much going on. Well, you know what? Yeah. Anyway,
We'll get a more we'll get you where we'll take you where we can get you, Toddy. That's what I was trying to
that's
say.
very kind. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Starfleet Boy, and thank you
Thank
all
you.
for watching us. The 4 to 5 people that the fluctuating view count. Thank you all for watching. Smash the like button is a thing that we need to say on the YouTubes.
Oh yeah, and subscribe to ABTG if you don't mind. Give us a little
It's not the most
subscribe.
active channel as it stands.
No, but
Um,
you've got a nice little
there's a nice little
curation.
collection. I've come
Yeah,
back to this channel and I realized that my Clarkson's farm video has like 300 views for
yeah,
like
I
an
saw that today
unexpected
too.
reason. I was like, what the fuck? No one commented. People are just watching it. Okay,
Yay, Alex409 says good stuff. So
good
maybe
stuff.
maybe we got a new fan.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you for coming on. And I'd say live long and prosper. What do they say in the
We
expense?
say remember the can't.
Remember the can't. How
Remember the
perfect.
can't.
How perfect. All right. See you, everyone.